White cops frame black woman, unaware she's a CIA agent. The truth blows up in court. Late into the night, in a quiet, unsuspecting Virginia town, two police officers made what seemed like a routine traffic stop. Their target? A black woman behind the wheel, someone they accused of a crime she hadn't committed. But this was no ordinary stop. It was a setup, a carefully orchestrated trap designed to take her down. What these officers didn't realize, what they couldn't have known, was that they had just pulled over the wrong woman. She wasn't just some ordinary citizen. They had unknowingly set their sights on someone who had the power to expose everything they were trying to keep hidden. And as the night unfolded, this encounter would spiral into something no one saw coming, a shocking unraveling of lies, corruption, and a truth so devastating it would send shockwaves through the entire police force. By the time this was over, no one involved would ever be the same. The streets of Arlington, Virginia, lay in eerie silence, the glow of flickering streetlights casting long, distorted shadows on the empty sidewalks. The occasional hum of a distant car cut through the stillness, but for the most part, the town seemed to be asleep. Inside a sleek black SUV, Talia Porter drove through the suburban streets, her hands resting lightly on the wheel. She was in no hurry, moving with the confidence of someone who knew exactly where she was going. She stole a quick glance at her watch. 12:07 a.m. The day had been long, exhausting even, but it had also been productive. Her undercover work in this town was nearly wrapped up, and all the information she needed was safely in her possession. Just a little longer, and she'd be out.
Clean.
Untouched. Invisible. Approaching a quiet intersection, she instinctively slowed down. The dim glint of a stop sign caught her sharp eyes, and without hesitation, she came to a full stop. Years of experience in the field had taught her one thing: details matter. A single misstep could be the difference between walking away unnoticed or getting caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. She turned left, smoothly pulling onto the next road, her mind already shifting to the next phase of her mission. But then, red and blue lights exploded behind her. The sudden wail of a siren ripped through the stillness of the night, its sharp, piercing sound cutting straight to the bone. Talia's pulse didn't spike. Her training had conditioned her for moments like this. Instead of panic, a cold, razor-sharp focus took over. She glanced at her rearview mirror, taking in the approaching patrol car. It was gaining on her, its headlights casting an eerie glow over the interior of her SUV. She pulled over. Engine off. Hands visible. No sudden movements. As the squad car rolled to a stop behind her, she watched the two officers emerge, their silhouettes tall and imposing against the flashing lights. The first officer, a tall, square-jawed man, approached her driver's side window with an air of forced authority. His uniform crisp, badge gleaming under the harsh glow of the streetlights. His partner, shorter but stockier, lingered near the rear of her vehicle, his presence more calculated than casual. Talia memorized their names the moment she saw their badges. Officer Brandon Carter. Officer Mark Sullivan. Carter leaned in slightly, his flashlight sweeping across her face and the interior of her car. His voice carried the weight of someone who had done this 1,000 times before, someone who expected compliance without question. "Good evening, ma'am. You know why I pulled you over tonight?" Talia met his gaze without hesitation. "No, officer. I don't." Her voice was even, controlled. "I wasn't speeding. And I made a full stop at the intersection." Carter's lips curled into a knowing smirk, the kind that sent a subtle chill down the spine. "Actually," he said, his voice laced with condescension, "you rolled through that stop sign. That's a moving violation." "A lie." Talia's expression remained neutral, though she felt a shift in the air. This wasn't about a traffic stop. Something else was happening here. "I stopped," she said, her tone firm but measured. "Maybe you're mistaken." Carter's smirk widened. "License and registration." She complied. No hesitation. No argument. Every movement deliberate, calculated. She wasn't about to escalate the situation, not yet. Carter took her documents, scanning them with a slow, deliberate intensity. His partner, Sullivan, remained near the back of her SUV, lingering, watching. Then a shift. "Hey, Carter." Sullivan's voice cut through the silence. "You might want to check this out." Carter's gaze flickered toward his partner. A silent exchange. A signal. Then the trap snapped shut. Carter turned back to Talia, his expression now dark, foreboding. "Step out of the vehicle, ma'am." Talia's eyes narrowed ever so slightly. Her voice remained calm. "May I ask why?" Carter barely hid his smirk. "We have reason to believe you're in possession of illegal substances." There it was. The lie. The setup. Talia's mind worked at lightning speed. She had been framed. Sullivan theatrically popped open her trunk, making a big show of discovering a mysterious bag inside. Well, Sullivan said, his voice dripping with fake surprise. "What do you know?" "A bag of powdery goodness." Talia's eyes flicked between the bag and the officers. Her expression was unreadable. But inside, a storm was brewing. This wasn't fear. This was calculation. This was a mistake. Not hers. Theirs. Carter stepped closer, his smirk widening. "Anything you want to tell us?" Talia tilted her head, her lips curving into the faintest hint of a smile. "I'll save my comments for the appropriate setting." That made Carter chuckle. "Oh, don't worry. You'll have your chance. You're under arrest for possession with intent to distribute." Sullivan grabbed her wrists, cuffing her tightly. They thought they had won. They had no idea who they were dealing with. As the squad car pulled away, Talia's mind was already 10 steps ahead. She stared out the window, silent, unreadable. But in her head, the game had just begun. And before this was over, they were all going to regret ever pulling her over.